I'm really not happy about this because these were one of my favorite animals. They were so interactive. Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, it's all about two animals, actually some of my favorite animals here on the property that unfortunately just passed away due to the cold weather. Now, we've had crazy cold nights and days here in Florida. Some of the craziest, coldest weather in I think 8 or 10 years, something crazy like that. But if you look at the pond, we actually have a few fish dying here. Come over here. If you look over there, you can see a Mayan cichlid floating. Now, there's all kinds of animals in Florida that unfortunately did not make it through this cold snap. Now, all of the gators and snakes are fine because we have heaters and we've run water, but this pond doesn't have a well running, so it's basically just super cold, and that's why non-native fish like that Mayan cichlid died. And if you look over here, my prized possessions, my giant catfish, have passed away. Now, I just got off of work. This is the first time I saw these animals, so we're filming this video on a fly, but we got one right here, and I noticed another one that died over there. I'm gonna hop down here and see if I can pull this guy out. This is the smaller out of the two hybrids. Now, these hybrids were, but it looks like he's actually breathing. It looks like he's still breathing, so this guy actually might have a chance. Let's take him out and throw him in a warm tub. So the other one I noticed, he is completely dead. He's not breathing. But I just saw that, oh, that water is ice cold. It does not look good. Looks like he's got a bite on his tail, probably from the turtles, but he is still breathing. All right, what we're gonna do, we're gonna put some water in a tub. We're gonna run some well water, see if we can kind of bring this guy back to life and save him because he is breathing, so hopefully he'll be fine. So, all right, let's go do that. Luckily, I have two brand new tubs that I just made tops for. As you can see, these are for my new crocodiles made all out of plastic and composite board. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna wash this out real quick, fill it with some well water, and we're just gonna let the water sit on here. That way this stays warm throughout the night, and hopefully we can save that catfish. We've had 2 weeks of straight cold weather. Those catfish were fine, they weren't moving much. And today was our first hot day, so it must have just been too much for them to handle. And that is why one died and one is about to, because we can't save them. All right, we've got just enough warm water in that tub to put this guy in there. I know he's alive, he just bit my finger. He is still breathing. I'm gonna try to move him back and forth, get some water through his gills. Same thing when you're fishing and you do catch or release. You'll see guys doing this motion, but I'll tell you what, he does not look good. The chances of him passing away are highly likely. He's already discolored. All right, guys, we're just gonna leave this water on him and see, hopefully, by the grace of God, he'll bring back my catfish, but I don't think it's gonna work. Well, we're out here outdoors. Let me show you a few new things we have going on here. We are completely redoing the baby croc area, so all of the new tubs are gonna be done with that composite board to last a long time. So we're taking all of our old cypress mulch out. We're gonna take all this mulch out. We're gonna take the roof out, and this is gonna be a deck. That way all of our crocodilian tubs are completely level. And then we're gonna have filtration and plumbing underneath. That way I flip a switch, all those tubs will drain, flip another switch, and they will all fill up with water. And then over here we have Nala. You can see she's thriving. The cold did not affect her at all. This is our first warm day, so we still have the heat lamp on her because the nights still get a little bit chilly in the 50s. You can see she's running around. She smells the fish on my hand. She's like, what is that? And then coming back here. Now this right here is the new mammal cage. As you can tell, it is super tall. So we can do any kind of arboreal animal in here. I really want some kind of bird of prey. Maybe a female Eurasian eagle owl, a tawny eagle, maybe a sloth. But coming up to this cage, you can tell it is heavy duty. So we got this right here with 9-gauge horse panels. So this is one of the strongest wires you can ever buy. And we got a bunch of this stuff. So this cage is almost done. All we need to do is put on the doors. We put down the deck, so that way no animals can escape out of the bottom, out of the top, or out of the sides. And these right here, we're building some perches. I should have mentioned this earlier, but this is actually for fish. Now, they can't be for fish that big, but we could put some smaller native fish or maybe some exotics in here, but there's gonna be fish tanks going all along, all here. This is gonna be a covered tiki with lights. So they're gonna be out of the elements, out of the sun, not building algae, but we're gonna have some awesome outdoor fish tanks right here. And then in here is usually where I keep the bigger crocodile, but now it is slam packed full of baby croc tubs. Now, as you can see, over the years running water, these croc tubs got destroyed. We used to use wood on the top, and over the years, the wood will warp, it gets discolored, and it's not really the best. So we switched over to composite, and everything from the handles are plastic. Our new hinges are bronze so they don't rust. And then in here, we have a little American crocodile I got from Chandler. So that little guy's right there hanging out. Then we have the dwarf cayman over here. Everyone's super crowded, but they're only going to be like this for about a week until we get that new deck done. Over here we got my little gator that I raised from a little hatchling. And here we have my first Nile crocodile in here, and we have the broad snouted cayman over here. Now looking above, you can tell we have no shade cloth, but that's okay here. Whoa. But that's okay here in the winter. Typically I have a shade cloth, but in the winter I want these animals to get as much sun as they can during the day to help charge them back up and help digest their food. So we don't feed in the winter, and we have cold snaps for about a week, 2 weeks at a time. So these guys actually didn't go for like 2-3 weeks without eating. So I just gave them a nice big meal because it got nice and warm. Now I want them to catch those sun rays and help them digest. But since we're here, we might as well pull out a crocodilian. Let's see how the dwarf cayman is doing. You gotta be very careful. Jesus! All right, never mind. Let's not pull him out. Let's pull out something more simple. Let's pull out a gator. Now when I first got my permit, I bought 2 gators. I named them Beavis and Butthead. I gave away Beavis to a good friend of mine, so this right here is Butthead. You can tell the cayman's still going crazy. And he is actually a really nice gator. You can see, I just go down and pick him up. Oh, not at a good angle here. At this right here is Butthead. Ooh. And everyone's got some super dark colors. Now in the winter, they're not getting those sun rays and the heat like they should. So all the animals turn super, super dark. Not to mention they're in these super black tubs. And they're gonna start to pick up the colors of their environment. So if they're in a black tub, they're gonna be more dark. If they're in like a nice bright concrete pond, they're gonna get nice and light. But this right here, he's probably over 3 foot now. This is Butthead, my American alligator. In Florida, there is millions of alligators in this state. So definitely one thing we're not short of is alligators, but you can tell he's super, super nice. I mean, he's not trying to bite. He's not opening his mouth. This is an animal that I use all the time for shows and educational exhibits. So if there's a reptile show or a friend's having a birthday party, I'll tape him up, let the kids hold him. And it's a great animal to get kids to fall in love with reptiles. Once they hold a gator, it's just like me when I was a kid. You hold an animal, hold a big Burmese python, a gator, and you start to fall in love. One little kid that holds a gator could be the next Steve Irwin or the next Jeff Corwin or the next Stone. You never know. But it definitely does inspire young kids to get into reptiles, and in return helps them support conservation. Let's see if we can pull out the Nile crocodile you guys haven't seen in a while. Now in this tub, I did have a bigger Nile crocodile. I actually just gave it to Chandler. This girl was in a 300 gallon. She got too big, so we upgraded her into this 750. You can tell all these crocodiles are cold. Typically, they would be going crazy when I touch their tail. Oh, and she's still going crazy. You can hear her popping her jaws. You got to be careful because they'll turn and actually bite their own tail. But look at that. This is actually offspring from my adult trio of Nile crocodiles. And I got her when she was just a wee little baby from my buddies over at Wild Florida. But look, even in the winter, look at that gold coloration on her. But she is not a croc to mess with. The Nile crocodiles are the world's 3rd largest species of crocodilian, growing upwards to 16 to 18 foot if it's a male. And eventually, probably within the next 6 months, we're gonna have to upgrade her and do an outdoor enclosure. Once crocs get this big, they start to grow really, really fast. So when they're babies, they can only eat so much and grow so much. But when they're this big, they can eat about a half a pound of meat, and that helps them grow very, very quick, especially when they're outdoors in the Florida sun. But a beautiful crocodile. I mean, you couldn't even tell that this thing is captive. You could grab one right out of the wild, and it would look exactly like this. Beautiful snout, beautiful body structure, not too fat. Like I said, these crocs have been fasting for about 3 weeks. All right, let's get her back in the tow. All right, let's give this cayman a shot. I really want to pull out this cayman. This guy is beautiful. We're actually in a perfect spot to catch this guy right now. He's going insane, but when I catch him, he slows down. Look at that. Big, beautiful, smooth fronted cayman. A lot of people confuse these guys with the dwarf cayman. Now this is not a dwarf cayman, this is a smooth fronted cayman. See him turning his head around. They have some of the craziest turning range out of any crocodilian. Literally about to bite my hand right now. He thinks he's getting close. Now they look very similar to the dwarf cayman. Now there's a few ways to tell them apart. By the ridge on their eyes, and also right here by their tail. So a dwarf cayman, they have about 4 or 5 scoots right here, and then they run all the way to the tail. Look at him wagging his tail. Now this guy, the smooth fronted cayman, you can see his scoots go wide to skinny. It goes to 2 scoots right on top of his back legs. Now that's how you can tell the difference between the smooth front and the dwarf. Is the smooth fronts, the scales go super skinny right towards their legs. You can hear him going, oh, oh, basically calling for mama. So crocodilians, once they get about this size, maybe a foot or two larger, they kind of stop making that noise because they know mama's not going to come. But you would think only a hatchling is going to make that noise, but no. Even crocodilians, about 3, 4, sometimes even 5, 6 years old, will make that little noise. Look at the chompers on that guy. Definitely not an animal I'd want to take a bite by. Gators aren't too bad because their teeth are very blunt, but caimans are just ferocious. Caimans and crocodiles you never want to take a bite by. But let's get this guy back in his tub before he freaks out too much. Look at him trying to bite my hand. Oh! And caimans are notorious. When you let go of caiman, you have to be super fast. Because every time you let go of caiman, they try to bite you in the hand. Watch. See? Tried to bite my hand. All right, so the first fish we're trying to revive, this right here is my second red-tail hybrid. Now, this is actually the larger of the two. And you can tell he hasn't been dead for more than about 12 hours because he's fresh. He's not even floating. The turtles haven't started munching on them, but this right here is definitely the bigger catfish. This is super heartbreaking. So I bought 2 of these catfish, that one and this one, off of Craigslist when they were about this big. They were little tiny babies, and I got them for about $100. So I've had these fish for a long time, and those loyal YouTube subscribers know exactly which fish these are. Now, these catfish are some of the most favorite animals here at the park because people come by. What they want to do, they want to go to the pond, they want to feed the fish, feed the turtles, and when they see these massive catfish swimming around, they're absolutely amazed. Now, like I said, Florida hasn't got this cold in like 10 years, so typically these animals would be fine throughout the winter. I mean, I've had them here for about 3 years, and they've made it through every single winter perfectly fine. Now, I've been living in Florida my whole life, and this is one of the coldest winters we've ever had. Now, this may look like a giant catfish, but they actually get bigger. So these animals can get up to 40 pounds. I would say this guy is close to 10 pounds. And this was the bigger of the two. This was my favorite catfish of all time. And I'm really not happy about this because these were one of my favorite animals. They were so interactive. I raised them from little babies. When you raise an animal from a little baby, it is so disheartening to see them die. So I'm really upset about this. But this is a tiger shovel nose crossed with a red tail catfish hybrid. And you can see that tiger shovel nose with those spots and that pattern down the body. And you can see it's a red tail from that red tail right there. If I do decide to get more, I'm definitely not going to put them outdoors in an outdoor pond unless I have some crazy filtration and water setup going on. But look at this big guy. It is super unfortunate. You know, thank God it's not one of my crocs or one of my snakes, but it's still pretty much the same. And it hits just the same because I raised this guy from a little baby. And it's just super sad. I can't believe this happened. This just shows the reality of the winter in keeping animals. Now, I've actually never lost an animal from the cold. This is the first animal I've ever lost to the cold. I mean, we have snakes out here with just the heat lamp, and crocs are outside with running water, but this is the first and only animal I have lost during the cold, which is super unfortunate. All right, guys, that is the end of today's video. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, comment, and most important part, subscribe. We'll see you next time.